Welcome to The Conflict Coach with Dr. Emily Taylor. I'm a mediator, developmental psychologist, and married mother of 5. I also teach conflict resolution classes. And like you, I've dealt with a lot of conflict in my own life. And I used to think I could make it all go away if I improved conditions or changed myself. But I've realized that conflict is just part of life. We all need more effective tools to handle it with confidence. So that's what this podcast is about. Each episode, you'll hear me coach a real person through a real conflict in their life. As you listen, you'll notice that I'm not telling them what to do. I'm giving them a set of skills that can apply to any conflict, including the ones in your life. So let's get started. I'm joined today by Elizabeth. She's in her 50s and works as a director of a small private girls' school. Recently, she's had a conflict with one of her teachers that she supervises, and the relationship is tense. Elizabeth would like to resolve things, but isn't sure about the next step. So we're going to explore some options together. Elizabeth, hi, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, first off, could you explain a little bit about what's been going on?
So I've been working with this particular employee for about 5 years now, and we have had a good relationship in the past from my perspective. And she is moving up into a higher position as a teacher. So she's been working on getting her license, which means she's working full time, and she is also attending the school full time. And for about a couple of months, there's been more of a negative attitude and less participation in the meetings. And it started to be where I recognized that I was getting frustrated with her. And I also recognized that she wouldn't make eye contact with me, and kind of conversations would stop when I would come into the room. So I knew there was something going on, but I also knew she was preparing for finals. And so I didn't bring it up. I just thought, okay, she's stressed with that. About probably a month ago, she came to my office and really just kind of opened up in a way that was expressing frustration. And it was all directed at me. It was the way I was approaching discussions we were having in our staff meetings. She just was saying that I was, shutting her down. I wasn't listening to her answers. It sounded like I didn't value her based on what she was saying. And I was really surprised because from my perspective, I was just sharing kind of the leadership direction that I had received in my administrative meetings with my administrative team. And so in my department staff meetings, I was just sharing information about things that we wouldn't necessarily be able to do. And she took it personally.
So you're perceiving this person as having stress, and then you finally was that something, did she ask to speak with you then?
She did.
So during a month and a half ago, you have this meeting, and then it's all about you and your leadership style?
Yeah.
What was that actually like for you?
Well, I was surprised for sure because I didn't think that I had done anything different or unusual. And I also recognized, as I thought about it afterwards, that I was dealing with my own stress with different situations. So in that meeting, I got emotional and expressed some frustration, not necessarily at her, but just in some other areas. And I don't know if that came across as like if I shared too much with her, so
Okay.
I don't know how I came across in that meeting.
How did she receive that generally? Like when you were emotional about it, how do you think that was received?
I think it might have felt dismissive to her, like I wasn't
Okay.
really listening effectively, which is kind of her concern about the meetings also, is that I wasn't listening well.
Was it like that you switched it to your personal frustrations as opposed to addressing her own?
Possibly.
But you don't know because maybe
I
you
don't
haven't
know.
talked about it since then. Okay. Okay. So it sounds like from your perspective, there's some kind of sense that she feels dismissed. You actually made yourself vulnerable also, like in expressing concerns. Is that fair?
Yes.
Which, that can be kind of tricky also if you're the manager expressing what you're frustrated about.
Right.
And then anything else that you would draw from that meeting, like that happened there or that you think is important to this ongoing conflict.
Well, I did apologize for, making her feel that I wasn't valuing her input or her contribution, because I do. I value it highly. And I tried to kind of bridge the divide, but I didn't feel like I knew how to do that. And so I probably did more talking than
Okay.
listening. And that might have been something that I would like to change. But at the end of the meeting, I don't feel like there was a resolution or there wasn't any kind of understanding about how we move forward.
So, listener, I hope you're thinking about how you would have handled the meeting if you were Elizabeth. She knows it didn't go well, and she's highlighted a few things that are pretty common in a conflict. She was caught off guard by the accusation that her employee was making about her. She got emotional, she apologized, but she also felt compelled to explain herself. These are all very natural reactions when we're hurt, angry, or we feel threatened. And when you're in a position of authority, it's really easy to then try to steer the conversation and then try to resolve the issues almost immediately. But these reactions weren't necessarily helpful in this conflict situation. They often can make it worse. Like for Elizabeth, she thinks her employee now feels dismissed. So, what you want to keep in mind is that listening is key to productive problem solving. We need to listen long enough and well enough that the other person feels validated and understood rather than dismissed, which means staying quiet. Avoid the urge to explain yourself or your feelings at the time. This is particularly hard to do if you're caught off guard, especially if there's accusations or strong emotions that come up for you. So in this case, you could even ask for some time to reflect on what you just heard. You could say something like, "You shared some things that I wasn't aware of. I'd like a little time to digest what you said. Could we possibly schedule another meeting for tomorrow at the same time to talk this through?" That said, let's get back to the session with Elizabeth. So again, like in this meeting, there's like some exchange. It sounds like there was no like, hey, from this point, let's do these things so we don't have ongoing issues.
Yes.
Okay.
And I've thought about how to approach that, but then I had some business meetings and personal trips. So there's been a space of time that I've kind of tried to give her space, thinking, she'll have time to manage her own stress, and then maybe we could address it later. But we haven't yet.
Is that more your style? Like, hey, I can perceive this person is stressed. Let's give them some space.
I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. No, I think it's an interesting thing. Usually we offer to others what our preferred style is, right? Like if you were in the same situation or you felt like your ideas were dismissed or you're going through school, from her perspective, you'd be like, oh, okay, this person just needs space. It's interesting, though, if there was that meeting and maybe the space wasn't what was desired, perhaps.
I can see that, because I know that there were many staff that she had been friends with that left. And so she didn't really have the same people to turn to when she was frustrated. And I don't know if she was seeking that from me. And when I've talked to my boss about kind of this conflict between this employee, she has kind of just said, well, not everybody belongs here. If the negativity is impacting the department, maybe, if it's time for her to go, that's okay. And so then I feel like I can't talk to my boss. I can't talk to the employee, not sure who to talk to.
So your boss is response is to just get rid of her?
If she wanted to go, like if she wasn't happy there to have, that was part of the idea. So I don't know that she wanted to get rid of her. She recognizes that she's a valuable employee. She has a lot to contribute. She does well at her job. But the conflict, dealing with the conflict, was her response wasn't necessarily strategic. It was more like, okay, well, if she doesn't like it, she can go. I don't feel like anybody has answers. So that's why I was happy to
Okay.
talk to you about this.
Okay, good. What do you think is needed?
I think that it will probably be helpful for us to sit down and just be able to work through it, but I'm not sure exactly how to do that. I feel like I would love for her to point out if there's a time when I'm doing something that she doesn't like, but I don't know if she would feel comfortable doing that.
Okay.
And if I need to change something, I'm not sure if I would even know how to change it or if it would be even appropriate to change.
Do you want to try to role play it? As if you would ask a meeting with her?
Um, I'd be open to trying.
So, friends, Elizabeth is a really good sport for even trying role playing, and I think you'll learn a lot from listening in. Everyone, especially if you're a leader or a manager, needs a safe place to practice how they're going to communicate. So, if you have a spouse, a family member, or a trusted friend that you can practice with, it will help you to get the actual words coming out of your mouth. You try different approaches and then you refine it as you go along until it feels right. So just practice even by yourself. You could look in a mirror, you could record yourself on a phone, and then when the actual moment comes, you won't be as nervous. So let's see how this goes for Elizabeth. Okay, so if you called that meeting, again, if we're just brainstorming what an actual script would look like, how would you want to start it? And then what would you want to accomplish in that meeting?
My first thought is to start it by saying something like, I was caught off guard with our last meeting, and I've been feeling uncomfortable since then and haven't known how to repair our relationship. I, I felt like I apologized, but I'm not actually sure what I need to change, if anything. And I'm not actually sure how we move forward to improve not only our personal relationship, but our teamwork as well.
Okay. I think I'm just going to insert this. I think there's some find out that needs to happen, right? To understand, and even maybe the recognition to say, and again, you can totally reject this. I'm just throwing this out there. The idea that you started to share some of your feelings, and then I know that I shared some of my own frustrations. And in reflection, I realize perhaps I didn't really get into maybe the details. I'd love to hear more about your experience and what are some of your needs in this situation. I've just found if we call the conversation, and especially if we're in a position of authority, it helps to initiate it and then do the listening first. And then you can say, from my perspective, these are some of the things that I need in this situation. And then you can actually brainstorm once you know what the things are that she needs. Because we've only tried to guess, right? How can you imagine starting off like getting her to share?
Maybe just asking about how how life has been since she finished her licensing requirements.
Okay.
So
So kind of starting off general, just like her well-being.
yeah.
Okay.
And then one possible way would be, I know we had our anonymous employee engagement survey results. And, I read some things that were clearly from the academic team that were pretty negative. So, I could just say, based on the employee engagement results, I'm trying to understand, what everybody, what individuals' concerns are. And particularly, I'd like to know your concerns um, about the department and about our interactions, and what you feel like you need and what we could do differently.
Okay, let's flip it. I'm going to be, you be her, and I'm going to be you. And I'm going to try to say what you just said and try to imagine how she would respond to it. So, I've got the results back from the anonymous climate survey. And, as the director, I received, there were some negative comments kind of about our team interworking. And I'm just wanting to meet with people one on one to see, what their specific concerns are. Would you be willing to share with me some of your concerns?
Maybe.
Okay, so there's a hesitancy.
Yeah.
Why? Like if you're pretending to be her and, her boss has just asked her, like, hey, we had these anonymous survey results. Tell me a little bit more. What would be your hesitancy?
Are you going to ask me to do something differently? Are you going to ask me to change? If I share anything with you, is anything going to change, or is it all just going to have to be me changing
Okay.
and not the concerns about other things that are happening that aren't great?
Okay. So I'm bringing it up because, again, in a position of authority, you have the chance to set the tone for what this meeting is about. Is it about the survey? Is it about, kind of our formal relationship with each other? If the desired goal, like you mentioned, is to have friendly interactions and to have like common communication, perhaps like a different approach, like where you're still a manager, but you're emphasizing that this is between us. Does that make sense? I'm just
Yes.
wondering if there's a way that you can approach it that it's we have had, we've had a meeting a month and a half ago. Since that time, I felt really unsettled just because I don't think we really resolved anything between us. Does that feel any different?
That feels totally different, and I think a lot better and really to the point.
Okay, because I think it's easy to frame it like the formal, because there is the formal relationship, but you've had enough interaction so far that it's kind of pared down to this is between the two of you. Because it doesn't sound like you have these kind of negative interactions with everybody on your team, right? Like you have a big team, right?
Yeah, and I don't. No.
What? Let's try again. If I'm her. I just walk in your office and I'm like, oh no, like I have I have this meeting with Elizabeth. Is it going to be just like last time? How can you help me, Elizabeth, so I don't feel like it's going to be just like last time?
Well, I would say thank you for coming and talking with me. I thought a lot about our conversation the last time we met. I didn't feel really great about my response because I was kind of caught off guard. And I have also felt like I felt uncomfortable about our interactions lately, and it makes me feel not great about my job and my interactions with you. And I want to see if there's anything we can do to improve that.
I like your personal approach. I want you to cut out as much feeling about like your feelings. Like it's okay to say I felt uncomfortable, but if the goal at first is to get her to feel validated, we're going to have to focus on that being the primary goal of the conversation. Let's shift it a little bit onto I felt really caught off guard. I would love to understand what you're experiencing and how we can work together. Not how I can change to meet what you want. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And again, this is kind of tedious, but this is the part of it where, okay, out of your mouth, if I walk in the door and I'm just like, "Hey, Elizabeth."
Thank you so much for coming to talk with me. I
It's all right. It's all right.
it's like
You're
you say
thinking.
it so well.
No. Because it's not my conflict. That's what's interesting too. Like if it's not your conflict, it's super easy to think of these scenarios, but it's really different when like you have a lot of emotion about it, right? Like this has been frustrating. This has been long, and it's stressful to go to work every day and feel that, right? Like you just want people to take you at like as genuine, see that you're actually trying. So I get it. Don't worry. Like I'm just trying to help. So don't
no,
it's not a comparison thing.
no, I totally appreciate that. And what I okay, let me try again.
Okay, sure. So, hi Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. I have been wanting us to talk because after our last meeting, I felt like it was unresolved. And I want us to have a good working relationship. And I really want to understand what your concerns are so that we can work together and make things better.
Okay. So that's a good. I like that intro. Do you feel comfortable with that?
It feels okay, yes.
Okay. Okay. How can we open the conversation for her? Like what's a question that might be to facilitate? If you know how you're starting it and the focus is going to be on I want to understand you and where you're coming from. What kind of question could we use?
That's a little tricky because I don't want her to complain about things that we can't change. Like about other departments or
Because you want it to be, well, I'm guessing you want it to be about your relationship with each other, though, right?
yes.
Okay, so that needs to be in the framing. Just say, hey, I felt like things were unresolved after our last meeting. I really want to have a good working relationship with you. And I wondered if you'd be willing to share with me perhaps the things that we didn't get to in our last meeting that have, been on your mind. Is that, again, I'm just throwing it out there as something to edit. But
Okay. And I guess coming at from that approach, I might say something like, are there things that are still concerning you? Or is there something that you've noticed since that conversation that you would like to discuss? Maybe.
okay. I'm thinking about those because there's one thing to create for her to have a laundry list, right, of issues. And then if you ask it that way, she might just be like, oh, she wants me to come up with these things that, she's supposed to change as a manager.
And I don't want
So
to
again,
have that.
okay, again, I'm just thinking out loud. But this idea of checking in to say, after our last meeting, I felt like we didn't really resolve anything and that perhaps I didn't fully listen to some of the things that you had wanted to share. Are there things that you would like to share with me so that we can have a better working relationship? Somehow, like, I guess I'm not saying it perfectly, but I don't want us to frame it as I'm going to tell you all the things you do wrong.
Right.
What we want to get at is what are the things that you need so that we can work well with each other. Does that make sense? So however we can phrase that as, I've noticed since our last meeting that things really haven't improved between us. And I would love to have a good working relationship with you. Are there things that you'd like to talk about that would help us work better together?
Well, I think that's really good. The goal, um, I've been trying to think of a question to ask, but maybe it's not
Okay.
so much of a question as to saying, this is the goal that I'm hoping we can work together on addressing or working together to resolve. So, and maybe it would be saying, I would like us to have a good working relationship. My initial response is, do you want that? but but I don't know that I want to ask a yes or no question. I want it to be open. I want it to be a conversation.
I think you hit it on like nail on the head when you said, I think maybe she didn't feel validated, right? So I believe, and again, this is it's your conversation, but I think we're going to be more successful if you focus on, I got to find out what her real concerns are.
So maybe it's just a matter of, I want, you came to me with concerns last time. I don't feel like I really listened effectively, and I don't feel like we really came up with a really resolution and a way to move forward together. Did did you Were you able to fully express?
Don't go to the yes and no.
Okay. No.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Okay, so it's a reframing where you're switching it to not what happened in the past that was negative. And this is not you being Pollyanna-ish. It's actually to have a productive conversation, you wanting to turn it into what do we want as opposed to what happened in the past that we didn't like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, maybe as simple as, hey, like I left, our last meeting feeling like we hadn't really resolved issues and that maybe I didn't fully understand the things that you're experiencing. Would you be willing to share some of your concerns so that we can, work well together? Because that's really what I would like.
I like that because I have a tendency to be a natural problem solver. So it's like, let's get to the solutions.
The interesting part, I think I really like that you said that because none of, like, when we have a conflict, that's the natural tendency, right? You're like, what can I do to make this go away? But
Yes.
you can't solve what she's experiencing. She needs to be part of this, like, her thoughts and concerns are part of the problem solving solution. Like, that she may even come up with her own solutions if she feels validated, as opposed to you need to say, like, this is how we solved it, right? Or this is how we're going to do it. She may, in the process of being validated and having her manager listen to her and like elicit, just again through paraphrasing and you just listening, never switching it back to yourself until she's got it all out, she may be like, you know what, I'm really sorry that I haven't shared this, or whatever that is. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you are problem solving by helping her feel validated and just listening. That's actually better problem solving than saying, I'm going to solve your problem now.
I can see that. So let me try it one more time.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm just going to come in. And again, not perfect words. Again, we're just doing a short coaching session, but I would encourage you, write this down. Try it, like maybe try it out with a couple people and be like, how would you respond to that? And then again, just focusing on my goal is to help her feel validated. And in the process of her getting it all out and feeling validated, we are going to get closer to resolving the issue without me even saying I'm resolving the issue. So I think you're on the right track.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Here we go.
Role play number, whatever it is. Okay. Let's do it.
Thanks for coming to my office. I've thought a lot about our last conversation. I felt like it was kind of unresolved, and I just wanted to be able to open up, hoping that you would be willing to share anything that you didn't express at our last meeting. I just want to make sure that I understand where you're coming from so that we can work well together.
How does that feel?
I know when it makes me want to cry that it's on the right track.
Oh, what about it makes you want to cry?
Um, sorry,
It's okay.
because it feels like I can do something that will actually be effective, whereas everything else I've been trying has not felt effective.
Yeah. That's a super frustrating feeling, right? Like, I can sense that you have a lot of good intent and you've really, like, this has hurt you. And you've been tasked with trying to resolve it. Your boss has kind of just put it back on you. But I think you can translate that sincerity and that desire to connect in a way that she can respond to. I really think when I hear you saying those things, I think that can happen.
Yeah, I think so. And I really appreciate being able to talk about it in
Yeah.
a direct problem solving way.
Oh, it's so good to visit with you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being willing to be here.
Well, I appreciate you asking. Thank you.
I hope listening to Elizabeth and I work through her script helped you think about one of your own conflicts and how you might work through your own script. So let's review the skills that we've touched on today. First lesson is listen, listen, and listen more. When a conversation has gone badly in the past and things have kind of spiraled out of control with the other person, you need to reestablish order and then move forward. And that means, especially if you're a leader, you listen first. The person needs to feel heard, they need to be validated, and that doesn't mean in the end that you're going to neglect your own needs and feelings. But as Stephen Covey once said, seek first to understand and then to be understood. And if you're a problem solver like Elizabeth, you may be surprised to find that once you've helped the other person feel heard and validated, the solutions will present themselves naturally. The second thing that stood out from that session is about timing and conflict. You may be one of those people that needs space or time before you're ready to work on the conflict. Elizabeth's employee, in contrast, actually initiated the first meeting, which implied she probably wanted engagement rather than space or more time. So giving her space probably exacerbated the employee's perception that Elizabeth didn't care about the conflict or about her as a person. So notice those cues in your own conflict and try not to assume that the other person's style is your style. And finally, practice. Develop a script. Write it down, role play it with someone you trust. Elizabeth needed a safe space and several iterations to get the right tone, focus, and impact. She could feel it when we finally got it right. It's worth the effort to do that. Thanks for joining me today. If there's someone in your life who might benefit from listening to this episode, please share it. Because as I always say, it's not a question of if, but when we're going to experience conflict. And we do much better when we're prepared. The Conflict Coach with Dr. Emily Taylor is a BYU Radio podcast. Check the show notes to see how we can connect on social media. And next time, I'll be coaching someone through a conflict over shared space. I hope you'll join me.